welcome Elaine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. So I'd like to get started first by helping people understand the difference between collaborative divorce and what people might think of as more traditional or litigated or court-based kind of divorce. So if you could just help people understand that difference.
Absolutely. The reality is that in Florida and most places, over 95% of all divorcing families end up figuring it out themselves. Over 95% of all families come to their own agreements.
But without even going to court at all.
Without going to court at all. It's really less than 5% of the families that actually go in front of a judge and ask a judge to decide their fate and their future and their children's future. Actually, our courts are so underfunded by the state that if it were any more than that, our system would kind of implode.
Wow.
So even though...
So it's a small percentage of people that actually go to court and
absolutely.
Okay.
And people are very surprised when I tell them that, because the common sense is still, oh my, I'm getting divorced. I'll go tell my story to a judge and the judge will decide for us. And our judges are by and large wonderful people and very well-meaning, but they are under-resourced, don't have enough time. No matter how well one thinks they're preparing to tell their story in front of a judge, that judge, he or she, will never know as much, care as much, and be as invested in the outcome as the family themselves. So, what have we done to try and help families create a framework where they can move from, oh my gosh, we're getting divorced, to, you know what, we figured this out, we can move along with ourselves, our lives, our families, our children. We have a number of structures to do that. One is collaborative divorce. Collaborative divorce says, from the beginning, we are going to engage lawyers to help us and other professionals, and we are going to create this team, this village, if you will, all of whom are focused on how can we move this family along the process of our family is coming apart to we've restructured our family. We're going to be able to move along separately, unmarried.
So I'm thinking, if we're thinking about the difference between collaborative and that litigated, so you made the point that it's a very small percentage that actually do that litigated. So by and large, what are these people doing then? That 95%, I guess we can just talk about that a little bit, the route of collaborative versus what else people are doing in that 95%.
Okay. So the reality also is that in our systems, probably 50, 60, 70% of all families have no lawyers and go through this. And of that big bunch, 50, 60, 70% without lawyers, many of them do not have money for lawyers at all. And they are what we call, the fancy word is pro se. They're representing themselves in the courthouse. Now, what help is available for those folks? Well, some of our courthouses, Orange County particularly, is very good about a self-help program where you can go and they'll give you forms and help you figure it out. But it is not simple. It is not simple. And unless you have violence in your family, there probably are no free legal services anymore.
Right. So if if it's not simple and they want to do it themselves, well, that's one idea they had.
There is an option. So in Florida, all cases must be mediated before they can go to a judge.
Right.
Before they can be tried. Before a judge will talk to you, you must go to mediation. So all of our courthouses have in-house mediation process but you have to start the case in the courthouse before you can get there. So another way that a lot of families are approaching this problem is to go to see a mediator before they do anything else. You mentioned that I am a Florida Supreme Court certified mediator, so that's one of the ways in which I'm a peacemaker, where a couple will come to me. As a mediator, I can sit in the same room with the couple. Meet people. Some families, many who have children these days there are people in your profession, LCSWs, mental health professionals, who are also trained as mediators and who will sit and help that family create a parenting plan. Sit in the same room with them, work with them to create the parenting plan that they need to get divorced.
And why would people potentially choose then collaborative versus sit with a mediator?
So what collaborative does, so this is what I've been describing is a little bit of a more on the do-it-yourself spectrum, where you still need to figure out a lot of things yourself, because there's only so much that a mediator or a parenting counselor can do to help. What collaborative brings is here's what you need, all in one place, everybody together. You have collaborative lawyers who say, we're not going to court. We know, we are invested in the idea that you, your spouse, your family moving forward will be so much better off if you figure this out yourself. If you let go of the idea.
With our help.
With our
this
help.
Team. Yeah.
With this team, exactly. If you let go of the idea that some judge is going to have a better solution than you, with the help of this professional team, can figure out. So the lawyers are not there to reinforce the worst instincts of an angry person at that moment in time.
We've all heard horror stories about divorce, the attorneys just really, at each other or
making
fighting.
Things worse.
Yes. Well, and some people don't realize that context of a divorce in court, how that it really makes it more contentious than maybe even people start out wanting to be.
And I'm not here to badmouth lawyers. We are trained that a client walks into us, we are trained to accept their story,
be their advocate.
But I do believe that we also train to be their counselor. And I think that is one of the primary differences between a collaborative lawyer and a litigation lawyer. That the collaborative lawyer guides the client. Yes, of course you're angry. Yes, of course you would like to win. But let's look at the big picture. The story I like to tell is about a 3-week custody trial. And very, very unhappy relationship, very, very strained marriage.
3 weeks in
We were
a trial.
actually 3 weeks. Now, this was many years ago, and that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, okay.
That was in another state with different resources. That typically doesn't happen 3 weeks of a custody trial. And so we tried this case, and we won under whatever definition you want of winning. But I followed that client and that family, and it's not just one story like this. There are many. No matter how much you win, whether you count that as dollars received, or if you're the have spouse, fewer dollars paid, or if you count it in, I want so much time with my children. No, I only want to give you so much time with my children. However you measure that winning in a divorce trial, and that is also very problematic. If you follow those families who have been through the trauma of the litigation process, there are not good outcomes. To the contrary, if you take a family and two spouses who don't like each other very much right now because they're getting divorced, but there was a time, when they fell in love, made babies, were
raised a family,
had all of that shared life experience, what we do in collaborate is try to not get them to stay together as a couple, but to draw on that whole lifespan of experience, not just this really bad stuff going on right now, to move them forward in a productive way where nobody wins and hopefully nobody loses.
So in some ways, to remember that there are some positive aspects to this person that they're sitting with, and maybe to open up to hearing more than that negative story that maybe got them to this place, but just to open up just a little bit more to being able to hear each other.
Absolutely.